Hey, it's Don, the Auction Professor here. I've got another BOLO for you here. This is only for the diehard resellers. The majority of people won't even touch these items for the most part. It's another reason why these are worth so much, because most people don't even put them up or buy them to begin with. I'm not going to tell you what it is until we get to the screen, just so you're definitely going to at least know what I'm talking about here. It's something that sells all the time. I can find it at a specific place probably 90% of the time or better, which I will call out at the very end of the video. So if you want to know where to find these, I'll save that to the end. I'm going to surprise you as well, and we're going to cut to the screen, and I'm going to show you what item we're talking about today. So here we are. Here's the topic of the day: mouse traps. Most people don't mess with them. They think they're dirty and disgusting. Even though many of the places that they're at, a mouse could have crawled over and lived in most of those vintage items you find at a lot of these places. So I don't let what the item is scare me off. I have sold many mouse traps. As I said, if you wait to the end of the video, I'm going to tell you where I can find them almost every time I go there. At the end of the video, as I said. So hang on to the end if you're interested. These do sell very high in some cases. Some of these have went for over $1,000 for a mouse trap. So again, I've got a bunch here randomly mixed in here. So price-wise, don't be deterred by this first one here. I've only picked a small selection of them. If you look on eBay, there's not a ton of vintage ones up there. Again, because a lot of people don't either know what they are, don't want to mess with them, or think they're disgusting to begin with. This one went for 40 bucks. It's an electrical one. Some people might not even know what this was if they just saw it sitting there. You put the cheese on there, the minute, or whatever you're using for a bait, the minute the mouse or rat touched it, they would be electrocuted. So I know that's dark and kind of like a bad topic for some people, but for me, I'm a reseller. I'm not going to be deterred by what the item is for something like this. There's nothing morally wrong or unjust about doing this, because these animals spread disease. So your take on it: my wife had a pet rat. So, I do understand that for some people, some of these animals are, pets. Other people raise these animals and use them for feed for other animals. So, it's just a necessity to have some sort of this device around anyway. So 40 bucks for the first one. Here's another one. Again, this isn't going to be a long video. You just got to look out for these items. Most people won't mess with them, so that's probably eliminating many people who are watching this. They get much more elaborate as we go into here. Some of these actually don't even look like a mouse trap. This looks like a binder clip or something to most people, but you can see where the food would go in, or the bait, and what would happen from that point on. So again, another 40 bucks. These are things that you may only pay a couple dollars for. Maybe not this one, but the average one. Even the standardized modern day looking mouse traps, if they're old enough, still go for good money. Especially if they're constructed with brass hinges and things along that line. So anyway, here's an example of a better one. This is a 4-hole mouse trap. This one here, the mouse would go into those openings there. The tines would push forward, but once they get in, they couldn't get back out. So that's what these ones do here. It actually is a live mouse trap. 360 bucks on this one. This is a perfect example. Somebody might see this at a barn sale or at an auction and not have a clue what this is used for. It's really unique. It's not a one-off. There's a bunch of these that were made. People made them on their own, like folk art almost as well too, and those go for a horrendous amount of money as well too. Here's a lot of them. Just a nice little mix. And you can see the old construction of the old style there on the far left. Just a typical mix of vintage mouse traps. Again, some of these may be rat traps. They're all in the same category. 250 bucks for this lot. One other thing to think about: most people don't think these are worth a lot of money. The first two at 40 bucks, the actual seller might have been able to put 75 as a bin and sold them for 75 bucks. So don't underprice things based on what you think they might be worth. These are dirty and dingy and have a bad history of what they were used for. So, people take that in consideration and price them low, thinking they're not going to get much out of them. Many times you can get much more than you would expect out of these items by pricing them higher to start with. So 250, as I said, on this one. Next one's the Automatic Trap Company. This is one that actually traps them alive as well, too, if I'm not mistaken. Just another perfect example. I'm not going to go into details in each one of these. You're either going to find them or you're not. I don't really care how they work. I don't care any other aspect of them, as long as they work and they're worth money and they're legit to sell. So that's all I'm worrying about. 129, again, this was a buy it now. So the person might have been able to get quite a bit more for this exact one here. Another one. This is typical on this one here. This one has like the spinny wheel. It'll actually crank and they can run on it as well too. This one, 125 on this one. This is a fairly common one. 125 is about average, I guess you could say, on this one here. I've sold many, so you know, you're either going to like it or you're not going to like this category at all. It's just something you can sell. It goes in the antique section too. Now here's a more modernized looking one, and you can just see basically where modern ones come from. This is just a perfect example here. Sometimes some of these are even missing pieces and they will still sell. Like the springs, the mechanism there on the earlier ones are all brass. All of that is brass, so just take that in consideration. $107 on this one. Just another one of these spinning tumblers here, the wheels that they can run on. 102, as I said, the prices do vary. They call them primitive, folk art, the whole works. Here's another one. This is a live trap. The live traps still sell because some people actually use these vintage ones. I wouldn't use them. I wouldn't collect them. I sure as heck sell them. So anyway, this one went for $26 US plus shipping. They're not all worth a fortune, as you see here. So either way, you pay $1 or $2 for stuff like this. That's usually what I pay for any of these. If they're bigger, more elaborate, maybe $5 or $10. Even the people at the barn sales usually don't have them in the sale. They just happen to be laying in the barn somewhere, and I will buy them. I always ask, is that for sale? Would you take a couple bucks for that? That's what I usually throw out there with these. It almost always works. They do show up in attics occasionally as well, too, these smaller ones. So $34 on this one. Next one here looks like a homemade one, folk art again. People made these back in the day instead of buying one. If you lived on a farm and everything was tight, chances are you made these. Many people might not even know what these are when they see them too. So, you know, you're just not going to see many of them up on eBay to compare them to. So price high, like I said, most people don't mess with these. Most people think they're disgusting. Most people think there's no value in these whatsoever. But I have known about mouse traps and rat traps for a long time. I actually have sold many of the game traps for like rabbits, foxes, and things like that as well too. So any of these traps sell, but the mouse and the rat traps most people pass up, and I can get really cheap and find them fairly regularly. Again, calling it out at the end where you can get these at if you're interested. Next one here is, again, another one that was underpriced. This category most people don't think is worth a lot of money, so they almost always underprice it. There's only a few select people that price these correctly. You can see some of the ones that go for $200, $300, $400, $500, $600 or higher are ones that know what they're doing. The rest of the folks just kind of judge by what they see. You're not going to find a lot of these on eBay, again, because most people don't mess with these. Even if they know there's a little money to be made, they still pass them up because they think it's disgusting. And, you know, I leave them as they are. You know, they sell as they are. They sell all the time. There's nothing wrong with selling these types of items. So this one could have probably went for 3 or 4 times what the price was on it, in all honesty. So next one here is another lot. Again, they did it as a auction. They did this as an auction for $48. I would have put it up for $100, $125 as a bin. Chances are I would have sold it for twice what the auctions go for. Let's move on to the next one. Another one, $38 again. This one went for auction. I would have put it up $75 as a bin and just let it go. These are very scarce on eBay, but not scarce in real life. Again, people don't like to sell them. Here's a Gopher Rat Mousetrap. It does pretty much the whole works. $611. This would be one of those items that most people wouldn't know or wouldn't know what it was, in all honesty. So another good item, $611. This one might be the only one in here that might have been better off as a auction. The only one, because it's a very rare, odd design construction piece here. Then again, it could have been a $1,000 bin, and it could have sold for $800 or $900. I try to bin everything up. I always try to do bins. Next one here, again, somebody underpriced this one in my book. These go for $75 or plus for all the ones that I've seen or had. So, you know, this one was underpriced. They put it up for $39.99. They only sold it for $39.99. Price them high, especially if you're trying to do it as an auction. You may not get somebody else on at that time. These are a scarce item. Price them high as a bin with best offer. It's always the best on these vintage items for the most part. 99.9% of everything you run into will do far better off as a bin. eBay and every other company or critiquing or research company is going to tell you that's the fact. You can do your own comparisons and find out the exact same proof of the pudding based on eBay comps, because the bins always go for more and routinely sell versus the auction listings as well. So FYI. Just another one, just a perfect example. Again, underpriced, $35. It was done as an auction. I would have put this up for 75 bucks as a bin, and it probably would have sold for that. Let's go on to the next one here. Another one, just another perfect example, $38.66. Pop on to another one. Again, we've seen this one before in here. It went for more the last time. Again, I put most of these up at 75 bucks and just go from there. Across the board, these type here. This is one of the more common ones, indeed, but they still will sell for decent money. Next one here, another oddball one. This is a folk art one. You know, these could be put up for more money than this. Even if it's a brand new one, these still do sell for decent money. All these folk art, there's a lot of collectors for this type of item. Mostly farm collectors and folk art collectors buy these types of items. And the last one here is a Gladiator rat trap, mouse trap. They do them both. This is mostly for bigger animals, which would be the rats, though. $79.99. Again, putting them up too low. The majority of people, again, as I said, in this whole niche of mouse traps and rat traps, always underprice them. So anyway, that's what I have for you today. Well, there you go. As promised, I'm going to give it out to you where I find this item. 90% of the time I go to these places, it's barn sales. Almost every time I go to a barn sale, I find some sort of vintage mouse trap. It's the #1 place to find this sort of thing. As I said, most people don't mess with it. But anyway, that's what I have for you. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button down below. You can also hit the bell icon to be notified when I post new content or go live. Subscribe and tell a friend.